Hollywood does not talk about this openly. Systematic lower pay for actors who are women and minorities. In an article this week, one of the world's highest paid actresses, an A-lister, Emma Stone, did just that. Stone told Out magazine even the most successful female actors only get 80% of their male equivalent. She says equal wages only come when a male co-star decides to lower his salary, saying, quote, they feel it's what's right and fair. That's something that's also not discussed necessarily. Equal pay is going to require people to selflessly say, that's what's fair. Variety published a rare snapshot of salaries in October. This is part of it there. Women had a 10 to 15% disparity in pay in comedy and drama series, according to that list. Other estimates actually have it double that. That may be because some Hollywood executives rank women at a 20% discount. The Ulmer scale is a commonly used ranking by Hollywood decision makers of a star's earnings power at the box office. Past rankings show women stars are viewed as yielding 20% less at the box office, according to the Ulmer scale. The same pay challenge surfaced in a broadcast drama this week with series Hawaii Five-0. Two actors, Grace Park and Daniel Day Kim, left after 7 successful seasons. Variety reports, quote, insiders say CBS's final offer to Kim and Park was believed to have been 10 to 15% lower than what Alex O'Loughlin and Scott Kahn made in salary. Park faces the gender challenge on pay that Emma Stone describes, but both Park and Kim may also face a challenge on pay because they are minority, unlike their white Hawaii Five-0 co-stars. On that point, the Variety salary snapshot shows actors of color only make 55 to 68% of their white counterparts. And that is if these actors of color get the few roles available to them in Hollywood. Let's bring in our guest, actor and producer Brian Yang. Fans will remember him as Five-0's lab star Charlie Fong. We also have Melissa Sliverstein, who writes about women and Hollywood. Brian, why does this happen? If these numbers are correct, as they were reported by Variety, why does this difference happen, you believe?
Well, I think I mean, it's a systematic problem that starts from the top, and as long as Hollywood has been, in business, it's just been that way, and so the system is broken, and something needs to be done about that. Now, I don't have a magic wand. I wish we could do this. I think the simple answer to that is really the folks that are in charge, and this kind of across the board, whether it comes to salary or greenlighting projects, are generally, white, male, fit a certain demographic, and so those who are in charge will dictate the rules, so to speak, and thus, when it comes to salaries, that's what's reflected in the thinking. And let's build on what you're saying there, Brian, to you, Melissa. You've been in this business for about 10 years, watching what's happening in this dynamic that we've just described here. What about the heads of studio? Is that one place why this is maybe happening?
Well, partially. I feel that, a lot of people, when we look at the heads of studios, they're still mostly white and male. For example, there's a new head at Sony and there's a new head at several studios, and they just played musical chairs with the people who used to run the studios. So we have a lot of women decision makers coming into their own.
Are they making the same amount?
I would highly doubt it. And the Sony hack in 2014 revealed not only was Jennifer Lawrence being paid less than her co-stars, but also that the woman who was the co-head of the studio at that time, co-president, her name was Hannah Minghella, was making over $1 million less than the person who was her co-president, which is absurd. Brian,
as we were talking about, you were actually on the series as a recurring character. What was your experience like there, relevant to maybe what we're talking about today?
Well, I wasn't a series regular, so I can't speak to what was happening, at the very top. I was, treated fairly, so I have, nothing, no dirt, so to speak, to say. But everyone got along on set. It was a cohesive unit. I think those things that happen behind closed doors at the top are negotiated. They're coming out now. I mean, I can say that it wasn't necessarily something that just happened overnight. Stars sign on for multiple years from way back when the series begins, and so now we're seeing all of this come to light, which it's important to talk about and open, kind of shed light on this subject. But
it's not easy to talk about this as an actor, which you are. I mean, to come out and say, well, hey, I'm not happy with this deal, it's not necessarily that it would be, oh, that's great, that's fantastic, you did that.
Yeah, no, it's not. But it is important to talk about it and address it, and all the the talk about it in the last week, you know, I think it's going to challenge the powers that be, and this is a good thing.
Yeah. What's one of the solutions here, Melissa?
Well, I think one of the solutions is actually pay people equally. I mean, we shouldn't have to be fighting. Like the fact that CBS said that they had given them a substantive raise means that they were paying them so much less. And the fact that Emma Stone's co-stars need to take pay cuts, why aren't they just paying people equally? This is about the value that we put on people. And right now we're valuing white and male much higher than anybody else.
So you've made the change here, Brian, where you shifted over to being, well, the decision maker. You're now executive producing pieces. Is that part of the solution, to move into, if you will, the driver's seat?
Absolutely. I think it's really on us to shape our own narratives and our own stories and become the people who are, as you said, you know, in charge and making these decisions, because then we can set the salaries, we can dictate the rules, and so, you know, that power shift and that dynamic we have to grab hold of it. So it's really a, you know, do it yourself kind of mentality.
Bootstrapping. Melissa, how is the pipeline for those that might be able to represent these ideologies that we're talking about?
The pipeline is great. There are so many women out there ready to work and so many people of color. It's just about the lack of opportunities that they have. So we need to see diverse stories. There are a lot of women producing their own stuff now. Viola Davis, Reese Witherspoon. They are actually taking the responsibility themselves and saying, I'm going to make my own stories. I'm going to put myself in that narrative.
All right. Thank you both, Melissa Sliverstein, Brian Yang, stopping by on this 4 o'clock Eastern hour on the topic. Appreciate both of your perspectives.
Thank you.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.